At a meeting of Kennedy Center board members, President Trump revealed what he called the terminal condition of Florida Congressman Neil Dunn. Trump said doctors told Dunn he would be dead by June. House Speaker Mike Johnson said this info was not public. He added that Dunn ultimately had emergency surgery.
Neil Dunn, he's a great congressman, incredible. He called to say that he was terminal, really bad heart. There's nothing they can do.
You also referenced your appearance before.
Johnson says the congressman has a, quote, new lease on life after the president intervened, and with the help of doctors at Walter Reed Hospital in Maryland, Dunn represents Panama City. The president also announced the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, has been diagnosed with an early stage of breast cancer.
Hi guys, DR John is here. What just happened? Trump said something on camera so alarming in his words, his delivery, his appearance, that Washington has stopped whispering and started demanding answers. No official medical report, no hospital statement. But the White House's silence in response is being read as a confession all on its own. Trump was speaking to a room full of donors, wealthy people, influential people, people who write checks to keep his machine running.
And the Speaker of the House, he's got the easiest job of anybody in government. He's got a majority of 2. I don't like to say 1 because it varies, but between 1, 2, and 3. And I think you're the only man that's ever lived that's able to be very happy about it. In fact, when we get up to 3, you know, every once in a while we get up to 3. Actually, for a period of time, we had it up to 4. And then we had a death. And death is very bad when you're the Speaker and you have a majority of 2 or 3. But we had a death, and then we had another death, and we had some things, and it's... but we're looking very strong. We had one man who was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. I don't know. I won't mention his name. Should I? Do other people know his name? Do you want to mention it? He'll be proud.
And in the middle of what should have been a routine political pitch, Trump casually dropped a bombshell. He started talking about Congressman Neil Dunn, and he didn't just mention Dunn's name. He announced that Dunn has a terminal diagnosis. Those were Trump's exact words, terminal. Then he went further. Trump said Dunn would be dead by June. Not might be, not possibly, would be, as if he had already seen the calendar and crossed off the days. Now pause right there and imagine that for a second. A sitting president of the United States standing in front of donors, casually revealing that a member of Congress is actively dying. No sensitivity, no hesitation, no acknowledgement of the human being, the family, the children who are about to lose their father. Just straight into the political calculation. And then Trump said something that should stop every American cold. He said, and I quote, "It's bad because I needed his vote." Read that again. I needed his vote. Not, I feel terrible for him. Not, my prayers are with his family. Not even a performative moment of solemnity. Just pure, unfiltered transaction. A man is dying. A colleague is facing his final months. And Donald Trump's first thought, the thing that actually came out of his mouth in front of witnesses, was that he needed that dying man's vote. That tells you everything. Everything about how this president operates. Everything about what motivates him. Everything about the moral framework he brings to the highest office in the land. Everything is a deal. Everything is a calculation. Every human being is either useful or useless. Now here is where the story gets even stranger and far more concerning. According to Trump himself, he personally arranged for Dunn to receive emergency surgery at Walter Reed, the presidential military hospital. Trump presented this as a favor, as something Dunn should be grateful for, as a political debt owed. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, later confirmed this happened. Johnson said, and again I'm quoting, "It was dire." Those were his words. It was dire. This was not public knowledge. This was happening behind closed doors. A congressman was so sick that the president had to intervene to get him emergency care at a military hospital. But listen to how Trump frames it. He didn't say, "I saved a man's life because it was the right thing to do." He said he did it because he needed the vote. The surgery, the intervention, the use of presidential power to secure medical care for a dying man, all of it was transactional. All of it was about what Trump gets in return. And that is deeply, profoundly disturbing because it reveals how Trump sees the presidency itself. Not as a public trust, not as a responsibility to serve the American people, but as a tool, a weapon, a favor machine that exists to benefit Donald Trump personally. But wait, because this is where the story pivots from disturbing disturbing to genuinely alarming. People are looking at Trump differently now. They're looking at his body, and what they're seeing is raising red flags that cannot be ignored. Trump has visible bruising on his hands, large bruises, dark bruises, the kind of bruising that makes doctors pay attention. He also has significant swelling in his legs. This is not speculation. This is visible. This is documented. Trump's own doctor has confirmed that Trump suffers from chronic venous insufficiency, a vein condition that causes blood to pool in the legs, leading to swelling, pain, and fatigue. That diagnosis came out in 2025. It's real. It's confirmed. But here is what happens when you connect those dots to other observations. There is a doctor, a medical professional, making claims that have not been officially verified, but are being taken seriously by people who know what they're looking at. This doctor says Trump had a stroke, not recently, but months ago. And this doctor is pointing to evidence, facial drooping that was visible at a public event on September 11th, the hand bruises, the pattern of symptoms that, when put together, look exactly like someone who suffered a neurological event and is trying to hide it. Let me stop right here and say this very clearly. There is no confirmed report that Trump had a stroke, no official medical statement. No confirmation from his personal physician. No independent neurological exam made public. This is speculation. This is a doctor making claims based on public observations, not private examination. We cannot say for certain that Trump had a stroke. That would be irresponsible. But here is what we can say. The fact that people are asking the question at all is significant. The fact that a medical professional is willing to go on record with this claim is significant. The fact that visible physical evidence exists, bruises, swelling, facial asymmetry is significant. And the fact that Trump is not being transparent about any of it is perhaps the most significant thing of all. Because here's the truth about presidential health. Voters have a right to know. When you are 78 years old, when you are showing visible signs of physical decline, when you are making bizarre statements about other people's medical conditions, while simultaneously revealing your own lack of transparency, the public gets to ask questions. The public gets to demand answers. And the public gets to decide whether those answers are satisfactory. Trump is 78. 78-year-olds have health problems. That is not a scandal. That is not an accusation. That is simply reality. Chronic venous insufficiency in a 78-year-old is expected. It is not disqualifying. It does not mean he cannot do the job. But a stroke, a hidden neurological event, that is entirely different. That is the kind of thing that affects cognitive function, that affects decision-making, that affects a president's ability to respond to a crisis, to command the military, to make life and death decisions in real time. And that is why Democrats are now pushing the 25th Amendment conversation. Let me explain what that means. The 25th Amendment to the Constitution provides a mechanism for removing a president who is unable to discharge the duties of the office. It can be voluntary, with the president stepping aside temporarily, or it can be involuntary, with the vice president and a majority of the cabinet declaring the president unfit and transferring power. That is not a fringe idea. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is the Constitution. That is the law of the land. It exists precisely for situations like this, where questions arise about whether the president is physically or mentally capable of serving. And now Democrats are pointing to Trump's visible health issues, his lack of transparency, his bizarre behavior around Dunn's medical crisis, and they are asking a simple question. Is Donald Trump fit to be president right now? Does he have a condition he is hiding? Has he had a stroke that the public does not know about? Should Congress have access to his full medical records so they can make an informed judgment? Those are legitimate questions. They are not partisan attacks. They are accountability. They are what democracy looks like when a leader refuses to be transparent about something as fundamental as his own ability to function. Now let me tell you why this matters for the midterms. Because this is not just inside baseball. This is not just cable news speculation. This affects how people vote. If voters believe Trump is hiding a serious health condition, if they think he might have had a stroke and covered it up, they will not turn out for Republicans. They will stay home. Or worse, they will vote for Democrats. Older voters especially understand health issues. They know what it looks like when someone is hiding something. And if they think Trump is being dishonest about his own body, they will not trust him on anything else. And here is the real nightmare scenario for Republicans. If Trump becomes incapacitated, if the 25th Amendment is invoked, who takes over? J.D. Vance. And Vance has been distancing himself from Trump. Quietly, carefully, but visibly. Vance is laying the groundwork for a post-Trump future. And if Republicans start to believe that future might come sooner than expected, the party fractures. You have Trump loyalists fighting Vance loyalists. You have chaos, you have infighting, and you have a Democratic Party that walks right through the middle of it and takes back Congress. That is not speculation. That is political reality. Uncertainty destroys elections, and Trump's health, combined with his refusal to be transparent, is creating more uncertainty every single day. Let me also address the Dunn situation from another angle because it raises serious ethical questions that are not getting enough attention. Is it appropriate for the president to personally arrange emergency medical care for a congressman at a military hospital? Is that a proper use of presidential power? Or is it an abuse of government resources for political purposes? And then to brag about it to donors, to frame it as a favor that earns political loyalty, to say openly that he did it because he needed the vote, does that cross an ethical line? Those are not rhetorical questions. Those are questions that could lead to investigations, ethics complaints, potentially even legal consequences. And again, it all comes from Trump's own mouth. He is the one creating these scandals. He is the one saying these things out loud. No one is twisting his arm. No one is leaking damaging information. Trump is standing in front of rooms full of people and telling them exactly how transactional and calculating he is. And here is what is truly tragic about all of this. It did not have to be this way. If Trump had simply been transparent from the beginning, if he had released his medical records, if he had allowed independent doctors to examine him, if he had said, "Here is my health status, you decide," this narrative would have no power. The speculation would die. The 25th Amendment talk would fade. Democrats would have nothing to point to. But Trump did not do that. He did the opposite. He has been secretive. He has been evasive. He has hidden his medical information. He has refused to answer basic questions about his health. And that secrecy has created a vacuum. And into that vacuum has rushed speculation, concern, and fear. Democrats are filling that vacuum with damaging narratives. Journalists are filling it with questions Trump cannot answer. Voters are filling it with doubt. And the worst part, Trump cannot take it back. He already said the thing about Dunn. The bruises are already visible. The leg swelling is already documented. The facial drooping was already seen on camera. The doctor's claim about a stroke is already out there. You cannot unring that bell. So where does this go from here? Democrats will keep pushing the health narrative. They will keep talking about the 25th Amendment. They will keep demanding medical records. They will keep pointing to every visible sign of physical decline and every bizarre statement about medical issues. And they will keep tying it all together into a simple, powerful message. Donald Trump is hiding something, and you cannot trust him. Republicans, meanwhile, are in an impossible position. If they defend Trump blindly, they look like they are covering for a potentially unfit president. If they start asking questions themselves, they fracture the party and invite a civil war. And if they stay silent, the narrative grows stronger on its own. Trump himself is not helping. Every time he opens his mouth about medical issues, he makes it worse. Every time he talks about Dunn, he reminds people of his transactional worldview. Every time he appears in public with visible bruises or swelling, he gives Democrats more ammunition. This is not about whether Trump is definitely dying. He probably is not. This is about perception. This is about trust. This is about whether the American people believe their president is being honest with them about something as fundamental as his own health. And right now, the answer to that question is a resounding no. Voters deserve better. They deserve transparency. They deserve to know if the person sitting in the Oval Office, the person with nuclear codes, the person who commands the most powerful military in human history, is physically and mentally capable of doing the job. That is not a partisan demand. That is a democratic one. And Donald Trump is denying them that information. He is hiding. He is evading. He is deflecting, and in doing so, he is making everything worse. He is feeding the very narrative that could destroy his presidency and his party's chances in the midterms. The tragedy is that it is all self-inflicted. Trump could end this tomorrow by releasing his medical records and submitting to an independent examination. He will not. And because he will not, the questions will continue. The speculation will grow. The 25th Amendment talk will get louder, and the American people will be left wondering what exactly their president is hiding. That is not a stable situation. That is not a functioning presidency. presidency. That is a crisis of confidence unfolding in slow motion, and the only person who can stop it is the one who refuses to. So watch the hands, watch the face, watch the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he frames every human interaction as a transaction. And ask yourself the question that more and more Americans are asking every single day. Is Donald Trump okay? And if he is not, why will he not just tell us the truth?